Here we go.
We begin with an email question from Brandon Laura, who asks, who do you think will be in the NBA Finals? Brandon, it is that time of year again, and my very blood is bouncing. The NFL and NBA are like my two children. No way can I publicly say I love one more than the other. I love them both equally, and now they're going to be playing simultaneously. Throwing the baseball playoffs. Baseball was my first love growing up. And add in college football. I love me some college football. And please do not forget the PGA Tour stop in Las Vegas this weekend. I definitely will be watching. And well, you can see why it's a miracle I'm still married. I love you, Ernestine. You are a saint. But you know what? My one saving grace is that of all the sports, non-sports fan Ernestine has come to love just one of the sports. That is the NBA. Because she can actually see their faces and their bodies. I'm not the jealous type. Doesn't bother me a bit that she tells me this guy or that guy has an amazing body. She even tells me LeBron has a great body, and I am not at all threatened, in part because I have a pretty great physique myself. And you know what? I don't spend whatever it is, $2 million a year on my body. I laugh every time I hear that LeBron James spends $2 million a year on his body. How does anyone in the media really know that? Have reporters actually seen the receipts? I can just see LeBron and Maverick and Rich sitting around. Mav says, let's tell him this year $3 million a year. And LeBron nods and says, yeah, they'll buy it. The media is so gullible. And so are the fans when it comes to LeBron. But now, back to my take it to the bank like Tim Duncan prediction. For once, this is not like me, but I have to go with the chalk that I can't actually believe is the chalk. Oh, I definitely think the Celtics should be prohibitive favorites to win it all, but I am pleasantly shocked. My Oklahoma City Thunder are favored to win the West. They're favored to win the West. So that's my finals. Boston, OKC, something I never could have imagined growing up in Oklahoma City when the only pro sport we had was minor league hockey. True, minor league hockey. So now, before I explain my pick, get a quick flashback to last year's prediction, which was Celtics, Lakers. Yep. 1 year ago, I picked LeBron's team to win the West that they should have won the year before, if not for LeBron's choking. But I seriously thought Rob Pelinka, their GM, had added enough clutchness around LeBron, supporting LeBron, starting with Gabe Vincent, who had come up clutch so many times in playoff games for the Heat. So, as the British say, I was in for a penny, in for a pound. So I went Lakers over Celtics. I was going to pick LeBron's team to win the West. Might as well go all in and pick LeBron's team to win it all. Besides, I've never been quite sold on Jason Tatum, and I did not see Jaylen Brown coming like that in the postseason. So now I'm going to go Celtics in 5 over my Thunder in the finals, just as the season 5 over the Mavs happened last year. Jaylen Brown is the baddest man in basketball. Jaylen Brown's the baddest man on the basketball planet. Nobody plays with more clutch fury than this man. Last year's MVP, of course, of the conference finals and the finals. Jason Tatum is a nice player. He's a little taller, a little more all-around talented than the co-star that he barely coexists with. That's JB. But Jaylen Brown has it. Jaylen Brown is the coldest-blooded basketball killer on that team. So last regular season, JT averaged 27, 8, and 5 to JB's 23, 6, and 4. And I don't doubt their stats will be comparable to that this season, which is why Jalen will never win a regular season MVP. He's going to split stats, but trust me, he's the driving force of this team. He's the clutch assassin. He's the one who scares me when I'm rooting against the Celtics, not JT, JB. Jason Tatum seems like a really nice guy, while Jaylen Brown always seems to have a chip on his shoulder. Advantage Jalen. Two things I remember most about last year's finals: fourth quarter of the closeout game, Celtics are up 20, and poor Jason Tatum is pathetically and desperately firing away, trying to steal back the MVP from his co-star. Then also, I remember near the end of the game, Jaylen Brown's over on the bench saying, hey, if they put Luka back in, I'm going back in. That's because Jaylen had guarded Luka for most of the series and done a number on Luka. The same Luka who had shot, this was a career high, 38% from three in the regular season, who had shot 43% from three against Minnesota in the conference finals, had managed only 24% from three in the finals against Boston, including 2 for 9 from three in that closeout game. That had a whole lot to do with Jaylen Brown. I'm picking the Celtics to win it all because of Jaylen Brown. They're very lucky to have two top 10 players who managed to barely get along. They're also very lucky to have two other guys who just know how to win basketball games. I'm talking about Drew Holiday and Derrick White. But they don't win a championship without JB. Now, speaking of having two top 10 players, once again, I got to be honest. I'm speaking straight from my basketball bouncing heart. Once again, I was tempted to pick the Lakers to win a loaded West. Well, it's loaded with good but not great teams. But I mean, help me out here. You watch the Olympics, right? Who was the MVP? LeBron. Who was the gold medal winning team's best defensive player by far? Anthony Davis, who also did his share of damage on the offensive end. So, didn't LeBron and AD look like two top 10 players? Maybe even top 5 players? I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but that's what I saw. LeBron looked 39 going on 25. So, what happened to the Lakers last year? The Lakers I picked to win it all. 4 key players were hurt and pretty much stayed hurt the whole year. No Gabe Vincent, no Jared Vanderbilt, no Christian Wood, no Cam Reddish. What if all 4 get and stay healthy this year? What if Austin Reeves just keeps getting better and better and more clutch? What if D'Lo and Rui keep taking turns giving this team big nights? What if Dalton Connect is as valuable as I think he's going to be as an off-the-bench igniter scorer? This kid just stays in fearless attack mode. He is long, he is clever, he is supremely confident. The Lakers stole Dalton Connect at 17. He will contribute. So, once again, I bring it up again. Forgive me. The only issue I could see derailing this team is LeBron's blind love for his son, who was drafted, of course, number 55 in the second round. I'm sorry, this team is just too deep for 6'1" Bronny to get 10 or 15 minutes a night without causing a mutiny. 6'5" Max Christie, a former second round pick, now entering his third season, sure looks ready to me for those Bronny minutes as a shooter and a defender. So I do not wish the Bronny problem on rookie coach J.J. Redick. But hey, I like Darvin Ham coaching this team. 2 years ago, in Darvin's rookie year as a coach, Darvin somehow coached the Lakers into the conference finals against the eventual champ, Denver. And 4 straight times, games were highly winnable going into the fourth quarter. And in those 4 combined fourth quarters, LeBron shot 7 for 23 and 1 of 10 from 3. And in the final moments of the closeout game, LeBron bleeping James had 2 game-tying shots and failed to get either one of them even up to the rim. Didn't touch the rim with either one of those last 2 tying potential shots. And then last year, I'm sure you remember this, you blind witnesses, in the first round against Denver, LeBron pouted and basically shut down in the fourth quarter of game 1. Then he missed a wide open game-tying 3 at the end of game 2. Lakers lost in 5. Darvin Ham lost his job. Somebody had to lose a job. LeBron certainly wasn't going to lose his. Darvin Ham got scapegoated. But hey, I actually think J.J. Redick will do just fine as the coach because he's actually just the lead assistant. LeBron James coaches this team, which will lose in the conference finals to my Oklahoma City Thunder. I fell in love with the Thunder early last season, only partly because they play in my hometown. This team is just so much more lovable than that KD Westbrook Harden team that did make it all the way to the finals and made possible LeBron's first ring. Remember that? It's about damn time. This Thunder team is the first NBA team I can ever remember with college rah-rah unity and chemistry and camaraderie. These kids, boys to men, love to win together, and they love to do on-court post-game interviews together as one big, happy family. The only player who never quite fit into all that, who slumped in the playoffs, was Josh Giddey, who's now a Chicago Bull. Genius GM Sam Presti struck again, going bingo, bingo in the offseason, adding a 2-time All-NBA defender in Alex Caruso, who just knows how to play basketball and who plays hard. Then Sam Presti added the key Knicks guts and glue player, Isaiah Hartenstein, to do some dirty work for Chet Holmgren, who's long on length and long on leaping and long on three-point shooting, but not long on muscle. The Thunder were 4th last year in defensive efficiency. Pretty great. This year, they will be 1st. Man, when they can clamp down in the backcourt with Caruso and Lou Dort and Cason Wallace and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, teams will seriously have a hard time getting the ball past half court. And I'm serious about that, no exaggeration. The Thunder tied with the Celtics last year in blocks, thanks mostly to Chet, who finished a distant second to Wemby. This year, they will be 1st. The Thunder led the NBA last year in three-point shooting. Led the league. That will happen again. Yet, last year, the Thunder were 4th worst in rebounding. This year, that will improve dramatically. Last year, Shai Gilgeous finished 2nd in MVP. This year, he will finish 1st. Last year, painful memory, with a 1-point lead with 2 seconds left in Game 6 in Dallas, SGA momentarily lost his mind and did something shockingly uncharacteristic of him. He fouled P.J. Washington on a 3-point shot. That kept Oklahoma City from going home for a Game 7. That will be just enough scar tissue to help propel the Thunder through the extremely experienced Lakers to the NBA Finals. Now, just for the record, I do like the TWolves. Heck, I love the TWolves, especially after they got rid of Karl Anthony Towns. And they added Julius Randle's physicality and skill and lack of ego, and DiVincenzo's grit and leadership and three-point shooting. I just like the Thunder and Lakers a little bit better than the T-Wolves. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still not sure about Ant-Man in the biggest postseason games. I mean, He needed oxygen last year against the Mavs. He was hyperventilating. Baby Jordan? Really? The Mavericks are just too dependent on Luka's three-point shot, and I just don't trust it consistently through a long playoff run. Kyrie is now an every other night star, and Clay, on his last legs, is an every third or fourth night star. The Nuggets will ultimately curse the day they signed Russell Westbrook and entrusted him with their point guard role. I'm just not sure how far Kevin Durant can carry the Suns at what seems like an old 36. And somehow he and Devin Booker have never had that great click, that dynamic duo. Somehow it never quite worked between the two of those guys. I'm not sure how far Steph, going on 37, can carry what's left of Draymond Green. The Clippers have moved into a new home fit for an LA dynasty, just as Kawhi's failing knees are flaring up again. This team will go only as far as those knees can carry it. Steve Ballmer should be on his knees praying. If Ja has grown up, he could carry Memphis a long way. If Zion has grown down, he could carry New Orleans on a deep run. As much as I love De'Aaron Fox, I do not love DeMar DeRozan for the Kings. Ime's Rockets won 41 games last year, half their games. And I won't be surprised if they win 47 this year. I will watch them every night, trust me. Surely Wemby, with veteran wisdom from CP3 and Harrison Barnes, can lift the Spurs from 22 wins to at least, 32. If not, the coach must go. Yes, I mean that coach. Now to the East. On paper, the best team in all of basketball is in Philadelphia. Embiid, PG, Maxey, Oubre, Caleb Martin, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, Andre Drummond. Lord have mercy, better than Boston on paper. But in reality, you know and I know that Joel Embiid and Paul George cannot ultimately be trusted when you most need them in a big playoff run. Sorry, no, I've learned too many lessons about both. The Knicks got more talented by trading for Karl Anthony Towns. I surely can't blame them for plunging, for trying, but they will ultimately find out why Minnesota was willing to trade Karl Anthony Towns. Low on intangibles, fake tough guy, too much kitty cat in KAT. Eventually, he will suck the toughness right out of the Knicks. And furthermore, there's only so far a 6-foot-tall scorer can carry a contender shooting that many shots. Yes, I'm talking about Jalen Brunson. I said a year ago the Bucks would struggle after they basically swapped Drew Holiday for Dame, who's seriously mostly a pretty shooter who can come and go, rise and fall in clutch situations, and who just doesn't have the defensive gene. The Pacers and Heat and Cavs and Magic are all nice teams who will battle it out with the Knicks and Bucks for third best in the East. But the Celtics will beat the Sixers in 5 in the conference finals when Joel Embiid is limping on a bad knee and sick with stomach flu, and Paul George goes 1 for 12 from 3 in the closeout game. Celtics, Thunder, NBA Finals. I'd pick my hometown team, but I just don't want to jinx it. Celtics in 5. Ernestine and I will be watching every dribble, or in her case, every flex. Quick sip of the Breakfast of Champions, the nectar of the gods, Diet Mountain Dew. I've been saying this about Aaron Rodgers since his long ago, far away Super Bowl. That was 14 seasons ago. 14 seasons ago. Aaron Rodgers is the all-time blame-deflecting finger pointer who's been almost as overprotected by the national media as LeBron has always been. Aaron Rodgers is the LeBron James of the National Football League. No clutch gene. Aaron leads the league in too cool, on and off the field. He dates very cool women. He flicks cool bullets with style and swagger beyond anything we've ever seen from a QB. Again and again, I heard it, ESPN and Fox, transcendent thrower of the football. But I kept saying, lousy leader, no clutch gene. Way back when I started calling Aaron out on television, he called me out. I kept calling him out, and he kept validating my criticism. Remember, he did lead the Packers to that one Super Bowl with no pressure on him, no expectation on him, as a road wild card team that barely survived Michael Vick in Philly, then took the Falcons by surprise and by storm in Atlanta, then barely survived the immortal Caleb Haney subbing for Jay Cutler in Chicago. Aaron had 0 TD passes and 2 interceptions in that NFC Championship game. Packers actually lost the second half 14-7, managed to hang on, win 21-14, while Jay Cutler pedaled away on the exercise bike with a sprained knee throughout that second half. The Packers did go on and beat the Steelers in that Super Bowl at Jerry World. But I'm serious about this. Troy Polamalu tried to play safety on a pulled hamstring, shell of self. And during that game, while I'm watching that game, a prominent defensive coordinator from another team texted me that it was so hard for Pittsburgh to defend Green Bay's deep speed because Ryan Clark just didn't have the wheels anymore. So, congrats, Aaron, your Super Bowl MVP 14 seasons ago. Since then, Aaron Rodgers is 7-9 in the postseason. 7-9. Some of those wins were against a receiver playing quarterback, Joe Webb, and against Kirk Cousins. And then there was the Dez Caught-It game up at Green Bay. And the Odell goes to South Beach to get ready for a playoff game at Lambeau game. Remember that game? And then there was the Mason Crossbar game at Jerry World. 2 intergalactic field goals that required the hand of God to luck over the crossbar. That was Dak and Zeke's rookie year, of course. So I'm going to remind you, here's how Aaron's last 4 seasons ended in Green Bay. First, they got humiliated at San Francisco when Aaron had a QBR in that playoff game of 23, that scale of 0 to 123 in a playoff game. Then they lost at home as the 1 seed to Tom Brady when Aaron came up so unclutch with a late first and goal at the 8, unclutch. Then next year they lost at home as the 1 seed to Jimmy G's 49ers. QBR in that game of 23 again, scale of 0 to 100. 23, way to go, Aaron. Then losing at home finally to the Lions to get knocked out of the playoffs. 4 straight. Wow. Really? Yeah, as I watched that, remember the Hard Knocks episodes when Aaron first joined the Jets? I kept hearing Jet player after Jet player reverently refer to Aaron Rodgers as the GOAT. The what? The GOAT? You're kidding me. I saw so many preseason predictions this year that had the Jets getting to or even winning the Super Bowl. I said, no. Jets will miss the playoffs because of the 40-year-old quarterback who will alienate receivers and blow close games. The Jets have now lost 3 straight. So let's go back through. They lost at home to Denver 10-9 when on a late 3rd and 6, Aaron Bleepin Rodgers, with pressure looming in his face, badly underthrew Mike Williams, who, by the way, is 6 feet 4 inches tall and was once the 7th overall pick for the Chargers. That misfire resulted in a missed 50-yard field goal to win the game. Then the Jets lost in London to the Vikings 23-17, and on a late 3rd and 10, all the way down on the Minnesota 26, Aaron Rodgers badly underthrew him again, Mike Williams, and was intercepted by Stephon Gilmore, who should be a Dallas Cowboy, but that's another story. Then Aaron showed up Mike Williams by emphatically gesturing that Williams should have run a different route. How many times have we seen that from Aaron Bleepin Rodgers? Then this past Monday night, of course, the Jets lost at home to Buffalo 23-20, went on a late 3rd and 16 from their 40. Aaron pathetically underthrew him again, Mike Williams, who tried desperately to reverse field and fight back for the football before it was intercepted. Then afterward, in his media interview, Aaron threw Mike Williams under the bus for running the wrong route and ran over him 2 or 3 times. Last week, it was the coach's fault, so the coach got fired. Now it's Mike Williams' fault, and he just got replaced by a blast from Aaron's past, Davante Adams, who used to be the NFL's best receiver. Maybe Aaron Davante can recapture some of their old green and gold magic, but Davante is going on 32 now and doesn't have quite the separation burst he used to. Right now, Garrett Wilson is better than Davante Adams. Now watch Garrett Wilson start to complain about not getting enough footballs thrown his way. No. Aaron keeps getting what he wants, but the problem is the blame deflecting, finger pointing quarterback is the problem. And he's a far phonier GOAT than even LeBron James is. Monday night, Aaron Rodgers got outplayed by Josh Allen, who made that big late 3rd down run to ice the game. I'll admit it, I've never been much of a Josh Allen guy. Going into this season, Josh Allen had the most turnovers in the league since he came into the league. But now, Josh Allen is leading the league in QBR, ahead of Joe Burrow and ahead of Jaden Daniels, because Josh Allen has thrown 10 touchdown passes to 0 interceptions through 6 games. And because Josh Allen has lost only 2 fumbles in 6 games. Man, Josh Allen has had to grow up and clean up his act without Stephon Diggs. And has he ever? Josh Allen now throws mostly to his tight end guy. A campaign for the Dallas Cowboys to draft Dalton Kincaid. Josh does have Shakir, who can fly, and Keon Coleman, their rookie, who has Mike Williams' sort of size at 6'4", 220 pounds. But now the Bills have traded for Amari Cooper, who won't exactly change life for Josh Allen the way he initially did way back when for Dak Prescott. Remember that in 2018. So the good news about Amari Cooper, he has low ego. The bad news about Amari Cooper, he has low motor. That's why John Gruden was willing to trade him to Jerry Jones for a first-round pick. And that's why in 2019, second year in Dallas, Amari Cooper started quitting on the Dallas Cowboys. He shut it down at the Jets. Remember that? And then Stephon Gilmore made him quit at New England. Then Jason Garrett, then the head coach, yanked Amari in the 4th quarter of a winner-take-all game at Philly because Amari was running half-hearted routes. But can he be a very good route runner in Buffalo? Sure he can. Can he be a happy 3rd or 4th option for Josh Allen? Sure. But all that really matters right now in Buffalo is the Bills have a quarterback, a guy at 28 who's starting to look like the quarterback in the National Football League. Riley Meyer asks via email, if you were the Cowboys GM, how would you fix your team? Riley, painful question. I tried to fix our team all through the offseason. I said, Mike McCarthy has to go. Go get Jim Harbaugh. No. I said, Jerry cannot cave in and make Dak Prescott the highest paid player in pro football history. Jerry caved. Dak is now 25th in QBR. 25th. I said, please sign Derrick Henry. He lives in Dallas. He wants to play for Dallas. Nope. Jerry brought back Zeke. No. And now we're back of the pack in rushing as a team. As a team, we have 463 rushing yards through 6 games. That's dead last in the NFL. Derrick Henry leads the NFL with 704 yards rushing. Derrick Henry alone now has more yards than we do as a team. I first guessed it. Then I said, no. Tyler Guyton is too big a project to take in the first round and then throw right into the fire, starting at left tackle in place of Tyron Smith. You can't do it because I watched Tyler Guyton at Oklahoma, and he could pass block because he's gigantic, but run blocking, no, and so we're dead last in rushing. Tyler Guyton has now lost his starting job, and the team is starting to have issues with his practice habits, which is a really bad early sign. So, Riley, I'm lost. We'll eventually get rid of McCarthy. We'll get rid of Zeke. But we're stuck with Dak. And we're stuck with Jerry. Jerry went crazy yesterday, firing back at the 2 radio hosts who do a paid-for show. And he says, I pay you to ask me nice questions, not hard questions. Jerry's losing it. Jerry's going Joe Biden. I say it again and again every week, and he backs me up week after week. So I'm just afraid we're doomed. I actually threatened in the offseason to become a Packers fan because of Jordan Love. But the truth is, it's just not in my heart to take that plunge. Jerry still has me and us by the eyeballs. Speaking of Texas, Cole from Texas asks this question. If Tom Brady replaced Tua right now, what shot would you give the Dolphins of making the Super Bowl? Well, just because it's Tom Brady, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., I would give you a long shot right now, just because I'm not exactly sure what shape Tom stays in. I assume it's very good, but maybe not great shape. So if you threw him right into the heat right now with no training camp, a couple of practices like Baker Mayfield going to the Rams, except Baker at least had gone through training camp in Carolina, would I give him a shot to win some? Yeah, I would give him a shot because he's by far the greatest who ever did it, both as a quarterback and a leader. I can make the case greatest leader ever. But if you then gave him a training camp next year with those weapons, and they have pieces on defense. What are they, 2-3 now? He's 47, and next year at 48. I would pick them to win the Super Bowl next year with a training camp and a fresh start. I would pick them to win the Super Bowl. But it seems like Tom Brady is committed to a new career, a dual new career, because he just got approved as an owner of the now Las Vegas Raiders. Really, Tom Brady and the Raiders. I never would have put those two together. But Tom has some Raider in him, some pirate in him. And did he ever just go gangster on Fox, my ex network? Did he just bogart Fox? Whew. He just said to Fox, you're going to pay me whatever the money, $300 million over 5 years to be your number one commentator on NFL games. And I'm going to go through with the process and get approved to be an owner of the Las Vegas Raider. He and a business partner, Richard Seymour, have a $200 million stake now in the Raiders. That disqualifies Tom from being the broadcaster that I'm sure he hoped he would become, because now, because he's an owner, he is prohibited from going to practices as a broadcaster and from going to production meetings to interview players and coaches as a broadcaster. Cannot do it because you are an owner, and the other owners say, no, no, no. We now have Tom Brady rules. I don't blame him for that. I do blame Tom Brady for trying to have his cake and eat all of it too. I don't think he'll ever be a very good broadcaster. Never better than average. I've had to listen to him, watch him 4 times now on Cowboy games. And frankly, he has driven me crazier and crazier. He is the ultimate Captain Obvious. He is ultimately, aw shucks, gee whiz Tom, trying to be nice guy Tom and say nice things about players who will never be as good as he is, and he knows it. And now he has resorted to babbling and babbling more and more as he tries harder and harder to be great at broadcasting, driving me crazy. Only once have I seen him let his hair down, so to speak, as a broadcaster. And that was this past Sunday during Cowboys Lions when a pick play was called, and all of a sudden he lost himself and took a shot at his former rival Peyton Manning when he set the all-time passing yardage record in Denver. And Tom said that the staple of that offense was illegal pick plays. Took a shot at Peyton Manning. Maybe a lot of people thought it was a ha-ha shot. I thought it was a shot, and I loved it. We need more of that Brady. He's in there. That Raider Brady, that pirate is in there. That gangster is in there, but he's not going to come out on broadcast because Tom still wants to be seen as a really nice guy. I don't think he'll ever be better than average as a broadcaster, and I think he just sealed his fate by becoming an owner and gangstering Fox. Next question. I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's Nuriam Ahmed from Louisville who asks, is Lamar Action Jackson and King Derrick Henry the best QB RB duo to ever touch the turf? That's a good question. Like it. Thought about it. Okay, if we're talking about running quarterback and obviously running back, I would say yes. Michael Vick did have Warwick Dunn in Atlanta, who was pretty good, but not the huge, fast force that Derrick Henry is. When I think of the greatest running backs, Eric Dickerson didn't have a quarterback, neither did Walter Payton or Barry Sanders. Jim Brown had a very good quarterback. This is probably before your time because it's actually before mine, but he did have Frank Ryan. They won an NFL championship together in 1964. Frank Ryan did make 3 Pro Bowls, but Frank Ryan wasn't Troy Aikman. Emmitt Smith had Troy Aikman. So give me those two as QB and RB over Lamar and Derrick Henry. and over Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, over Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, over Terry Bradshaw and Franco Harris. But now, forgive me for this, my Cowboy blood is really pumping. I'll throw you one last metallic blue curveball. The greatest Dallas Cowboy quarterback ever was Roger Staubach. You might remember, he invented the Hail Mary. Roger was known as Roger the Dodger because he could escape and he could run. He could make you miss. Maybe not like Lamar and Vic can run, but Josh Allen run? Yep, you'd better believe Roger could do Josh Allen. And when Gil Brandt stole Tony Dorsett from Seattle, took him second overall with that draft pick that he had acquired, behold, Roger Staubach and Tony Dorsett were, to me, the greatest QB-RB combo in NFL history. Dorsett, Heisman winner from Pitt, ran 4.3 to Emmett's 4.6. Emmett ran behind the greatest offensive line I ever saw. Tony did not. Tony could run as tough as Emmett could between the tackles at about 195 pounds, but Tony Dorsett was as dangerous a breakaway threat as I ever saw, ever. I'm talking about blazing straight ahead speed, detonated by quicker than the eye acceleration. Just YouTube the 99-yard run on Monday Night Football at Minnesota and tell me what you think. I will take Staubach and Dorsett slightly over Troy and Emmett, and I'll take both Cowboy duos slightly over Lamar and a running back who should be playing in Dallas, Big D, Derrick Henry. This is from Solomon from Fairfax, Virginia. As someone who thrives on debate, which debate or topic has challenged you the most intellectually and emotionally over the years? That is a deep, good question, and I do appreciate it, along with all of your great questions. Okay, number one, Tim Tebow didn't deserve to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know how many times I heard that. But I had already first guessed this one. I said before Tim Tebow was drafted that I would take him at the bottom of the first round and I would let him run his college offense and he would win games for me in the National Football League. Would not make a Pro Bowl, but he would win games, I said, mostly with his intangibles, but also with his arm. Tim Tebow had a big arm and his legs. Tim Tebow could run at about, 240 pounds? When Tim Tebow was finally given a shot, a chance in Denver, he took a 1-4 team to the division championship, the AFC West championship, and he threw a game-winning touchdown pass in overtime to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game. In the final 5 minutes of games in that regular season, Tim Tebow had the best QBR in the NFL. The best. The later it got, the closer it got, the better and more accurate he got. He sure could throw it when it mattered. Was I right or was I right? I was right. Intellectually, emotionally, I was right. I won 1,000 Tim Tebow debates against commentators and ex-players who kept arguing he shouldn't have a job because he just can't throw. Then how did he win all those games? Now I'm often told Tim Tebow turned out to be a bust. Nope, he didn't. He was wildly successful when given the chance to start. So after Peyton Manning replaced him in Denver, I surely couldn't argue with that. No other team ever gave Tim Tebow a chance to start at quarterback. No other team ever again gave him a shot. Their loss. Okay, now, of course, we get to debate number 2, which should actually be debate number 1, the classic debate that haunts me to this day. How could anyone reasonably and rationally argue LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan was? The only thing LeBron has done better than Michael is to last. He just keeps setting longevity records because he has now played 20,000 plus more minutes than Jordan has played and counting. And counting. I don't know. Is LeBron going to play 2-3 more years? Congratulations, LeBron. You lasted longer than Michael, way longer. Michael Jordan was simply the mentally toughest athlete I have ever closely observed. Among superstars, LeBron can be the mentally weakest athlete I've ever closely observed. Michael won 10 scoring titles to LeBron's 1, 10-1. Michael obviously went 6-0 in finals with 6 MVPs. In Michael's finals, in the closeout game, he stole the ball from Karl Malone over in the deep corner at one end. He dribbled all the way up court. He ignored Scottie Pippen saying, I'm open, over on the wing. And Michael Jeffrey Jordan made the game-winning jumper holding the pose impossibly great. LeBron has suffered so many epic fails and meltdowns, starting in 2010 against the Celtics, games 4, 5, and 6, after which his owner accused him of quitting, and members of his camp planted the story that he somehow had to be sedated in the locker room pregame because of an issue with a teammate. Baloney. 2011 against the Mavs in the finals, games 4, 5, and 6. The chosen one became the frozen one. You remember. End of game 6, 2013 finals. LeBron had 3 turnovers in the last 3 minutes. Heck, he had 2 in the last 45 seconds of that game. He LeBricked the tying 3, and Ray Allen saved LeBron's legacy. How about game 1, 2018 at Oakland when he turned down the last shot to win the game? Then he pouted and quit in overtime. Remember that one, blind witnesses? And of course, I already mentioned the Denver series 2 years ago, the Denver series last year. So for me, intellectually and emotionally, this isn't even a debate. It's a mismatch. Tyler Hampton asks, can you think of anyone, alive or dead, that in your judgment was actually better in their respective area of expertise than Michael Jordan was in his? Whew, man. All-time great question. So, forgive me for this. I'm going to have to go all-time greatest in my area of expertise, writing. Allow me to flash, if you will, my Vanderbilt education here. By the way, my football team's pretty good. But I did go from a public high school in Oklahoma City to graduating cum laude from Vanderbilt while majoring in English. So, my sophomore year, I took a course in Shakespeare. And I had to read, 15 or 20 of William Shakespeare's plays: Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, The Tempest, Taming of the Shrew, Merchant of Venice, Julius Caesar. I could go on and on. Read them all, absorbed by them all, shocked by them all. So allow me just to say this. God gave me some ability to write, so I do have some feel for what it takes to put pen to paper. And in my life, I have never, ever read any man's or woman's writing remotely as consistently great as Shakespeare's. His writing is so impossibly, consistently, routinely, transcendently great that it's hard for me to fathom a human created those words that just dance in perfect unison down the page with this magical rhythm and flair and flow and touch and structure and impossibly clever wit, that these words, to me, they must have originated within a god, not a man. It's like William Shakespeare was the human vessel for the wordsmithing of a god, the god of writing. Not in 500 years since William Shakespeare has any human approximated what William Shakespeare created again and again and again and again and again. No human has ever written with more scathing, piercing insight into human frailty the way Shakespeare did, through tragedy and comedy. There's just never been anything like him. Athletes get bigger and stronger and faster. Writers do not get better than William Shakespeare. There was Shakespeare, then there was Jordan. Steve from New York says, I remember listening a while back that The Great Gatsby is your favorite novel. So it got me wondering, what's your Mount Rushmore of great American novels? What would that be? So now we go back to the real world. Shakespeare, of course, was British and a playwright, not a novelist, so he's disqualified here. My Mount Rushmore would be Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Light in August by William Faulkner, Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe, and Blood Meridian. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. Now, most critics prefer Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury or Absalom. Most critics would almost certainly put Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath in the top 4, but I can't forgive Steinbeck for how unfairly he stained the reputation of my home state of Oklahoma. Never got over that. I am a John Irving fan, especially Garp, but he can get a little silly. And Updike can just be too relentlessly depressing for my taste. If you want to go oldest school, Huck Finn, Moby Dick, Scarlet Letter all belong on Rushmore. But I will stick with my 4. Finally, T from Nashville asks, what does Ernestine say to you when you're on one of your cowboy rants? T, funny, smart question. Usually she just leaves me alone. But if I ever corner her and I start pouring out my anguish to her, she always says, you have no control over how they play. You act like it's your fault. And I say, it is my fault for choosing to love the Dallas Cowboys, to attach my public pride to the Dallas Cowboys, to sink my self-worth, my very self-worth, into how the Dallas freaking Cowboys perform. And she shrugs and she says, get another team. Well, I can't. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing. Thanks to Ernestine for overseeing and understanding. And thanks to Hazel for approving.